What's going on, guys? Welcome back, and this is part 7. Now in this part we're going to be attaching our tread to our extension tread, and we're going to be cutting it out of this rectangular shape. Now the adhesive we use, like we said before, is a 5-minute polyurethane adhesive which expands over a 5-minute period, as you can see, and this is the one today that we're going to be using. This one's by Lumberjack, but you can use other adhesive. It just comes down to the joiner preference. Now we've got our pieces of timber again here with our blue tape attached, and these will be to add a little bit more support to our treads, and the tape underneath is there so when the glue drips it's easier to scrape off than having to scrape the glue off of the 2 pieces of oak. We also have our straps that we're going to strap the extension and the tread together, which will give it more support. So now we're going to add our adhesive, and we're going to put it inside of the groove, inside the tread there. We're going to put our fillet in, and now this fillet acts the same as like a wooden flooring would. It's a tongue and groove, and we're going to add our adhesive on either side of the fillet. As you can see, the adhesive is applied on both sides there, and what we're going to do is we're going to put it on its side now, and we're going to slot it in. Now prep is key with our extension treads. Now we've already pre-planned everything, so this should only take 5 minutes, which is plenty of time for the adhesive to expand. Now we're going to use our 2 bits of timber again now to assist with the support to avoid bowing when we add our straps to the extension and to the tread. These bits of timber are essential to avoid the bowing when we do attach these straps. Now very important is that we do add an extra layer of protection. We've used a piece of just a piece of MDF there, so when our straps tighten it won't actually damage the tread with the retention. And that's why we use this little piece of wood here, just to take a little bit of pressure and to avoid obviously damaging our tread and extension tread. Now as the tension starts to build and the glue starts to dry, you'll see as it starts to come out of the sides there and over the top, which is exactly what we want to see when the adhesive starts to dry. Now we will be sanding all of this glue off when the adhesive has dried, and once we sand it off we'll have a nice smooth finish. Now we just wait for our 2 pieces of oak just to bond together and leave time for that adhesive to dry. Now we're going to be going on to building our template tool, and in front of us here we've got 2 forms of adhesive. We've got our glue and we've got our activation spray. And this is so when we apply our glue, the spray dries up the glue and quickens up the process. So let's start making our template tool. Martin's going to get a little piece of MDF in the corner there. At this point we just want to get the length of the riser. It doesn't have to be perfect at this point, we just need to get that length. And we're gently just going to cut the end off there, and we're just going to see how that looks on our stairs. Let's have a look at that. That should do. Now it's not perfect, but it will do at the end. We're going to add another piece of MDF now to get that joint more perfect, more spot on. There we go. Now we're going to add our adhesive to the end of our MDF there. We're going to spray a couple of blobs on, and then we're going to spray our activator on another piece, and what we're going to do is we're going to connect them together, and then we just wait for that to dry. Now while that's drying, Martin has cut the next piece, and we're going to see it gently slide into our corner piece. And what we're going to do is we're going to measure the opposite end ready to be cut. And we're just going to chop the end off there, get our measurement, and then just cut it off. Now we're going to continue to go on with our gluing process. So we're going to put our glue and then our activation adhesive on our next piece, and the same thing as before, we're going to glue it together right in that joint. And then we just wait for our pieces to start bonding together. Now we're going to work on the front of our template. We're going to add our glue adhesive and obviously our finishing spray there. And what we're doing now is very important. We're going to be attaching the front of our template, which is going to sit nicely in front of our riser. And this front piece is there to represent the front of our tread, that 2cm nosing. And we're going to add one more piece here, and this is just to stabilize the template. And we'll just add some of our adhesive. And what we're doing here is we're trying to make sure that our template just doesn't fall apart. Now before we get our template tool here, we just want to have a look at how the adhesive's getting on. As you can see, the adhesive is expanded through our treads here, which is good, it means it's all dry. And what we're going to do now, before we measure up and cut, we're going to scrape away all this adhesive. And it's very important to go down in a straight line. We don't want to be going side to side when we're doing this scraping, as we don't want to be scratching all of our treads. And that's all of our adhesive removed. We're just going to sand it down, removing all the rest of the adhesive and those imperfections. Now Martin initially used a 150 grit there. So he started off at 150 and he's now going to revert back to 180 grit. And that should smooth everything over just really nice. Now this is just a quick reminder before we start cutting. As we said in the last video, if you see where our blue tape is, the front of our template here represents the front of the tread, which is obviously our 2cm nosing on our tread that will sit nicely here over the front of our riser. So it's very important to keep in mind it goes in line there, and it's the same 2cm width as the nosing of our tread. Martin's just going to line up now where his cuts are going to be, and he's going to use his jigsaw. But obviously if you're a more skillful joiner, you may want to use a track saw. Obviously that comes down to you, the joiner. Or if you're not a joiner, just something that you're comfortable with using to get the job done as effectively as possible. Don't forget to scrape the adhesive off the bottom of our treads too. And we're going to proceed with making our cuts. Now we've only got one more cut to make, and that's the small triangle piece in the corner. So that's all our cuts completed. Now let's just see if it fits in. It should just slot in. Now obviously you might need to go back in for additional cuts, but Martin seems to be our expert. That should fit in quite nicely, and it does. As we said before, we haven't glued all of our treads down yet. That will be done in a later video. So thanks for joining us guys, and next time we'll be doing our bullnose tread. If you like what you saw in this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can join us in the next video where we'll be showing you how to install a bullnose tread. My name's Kieran, and I'll get you next time.